Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 18 of What If Naruto Was Personally Trained by Kurama after leaving the village. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, stay in tune for the rest of the what ifs coming your way over on Anime King 2 and Anime King 3. Yes, if you're new, you heard that correctly, I indeed have 3 channels. Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click those red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And turn on those bell notifications they posted so you can see exactly when I post. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as Naruto and his group that consists of Fu and Teiwaya, as they were leaving Konoha, they were attacked by a masked man. It was easy work for Naruto to dispatch a man, as he removed the mask, as Naruto saw there was a seal on the man's tongue, preventing him from giving any information away, but too bad he was already taken care of. They continued on with their journey though. At the same time, another group was making their way towards where the three-tail was supposed to be seen. As they arrived towards Kiri, they spoke to Mei as she had taken over as the Mizukage, as Ayo and Kojo lead Naruto out and the team towards where the three-tail was last sighted. They didn't want the three-tails after all, they just wanted to find information on Orochimaru, who was said to be going after the three-tails. So with that, they spent the night out there. Fu had woken up early the next morning. As she made her way, there was where she met a little boy. Around her age, his name was Yukimaru. His guardian came and took him away before anything could escalate, as it was Guren. Guren knew precisely who Naruto was because Orochimaru had warned her about him. If he was out here, something was bad. Something was bound to happen. The group had split up as they made their way, as Naruto and the others saw the burst of chakra coming from Yukimaru, as the boy seemed to be able to communicate with the three-tails somehow, soothed as it came back up to the surface. But his chakra was running low it seems as he dropped down panting. As Naruto and group made their way over, they quickly took out Renji and all of the members, taking them out of commission, leaving Gozu and Guren, as both Naruto and Gozu and Guren landed in the water as they started a battle. Yukimaru started to panic as the chakra started to seep from him again. The three-tails started to get wild as it burst out of the water as Naruto looked up, as the thing came snapping down on them. Teiwaya refused to believe it. She refused to believe that he was gone. As it was Naruto, he always come back. As Naruto woke up, he was inside of three-tails, as he found Guren, as she got injured by one of her own shrapnels in her side. As she saw him, she was ready to fight, but she was too weak to do anything as Naruto seemed to not want to fight her. After all, she was defenseless to do anything against him. As he was angry that she would subject Yukimaru to a monster like Orochimaru. Unknown to him, she wanted to protect Yukimaru as well, but he saw it in her eyes when she spoke about the boy. She really wanted to keep him safe, as Naruto wanted to kill Orochimaru, but Guren laughed at that, as Naruto think that Orochimaru was a run-of-the-mill missing ninja. But Guren didn't know what Naruto was capable of or what he was. But yet something was going on as they started to hear rattling, as something was coming to them. It sounded like an army marching towards them. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So this is begin this new episode. Shh, said Naruto, quieting Guren as she glared at the boy. He pressed his ear on the cavern floor. Do you hear that? He asked. Guren looked around but she couldn't hear anything except for the gentle drip of water. But then she heard it. It sounded like when a crab opened and closed his claw, cracking together. What is that? She said. As Naruto looked around, he then spotted it. It was behind Guren, looked like a miniature version of the Aisamu, as it looked rather hungry, though it was coming towards her. As Naruto spun and caught one of them in mid-air, before it could bite down on him as he threw it across the room. His eyes then went wide when he saw hundreds more of them. Crap, run for it as they both took off, jumping over a large quantity of the miniatures and by. Before they got overrun, as Naruto saw Guren trip. As she was about to fall, he'd leap as he caught her right in his arms, jumping off. Hey, put me down, she said. I'll just get rid of them, my crystal release. As she brought her hand up, but Naruto stopped her. You will only hurt yourself in your condition, said Naruto. We can outrun them. As Guren felt the wind picked up as he moved. She was shocked by his speed. But still, put me down, she said. I still have some pride, you know? Said the person that worked for Orochimaru, said Naruto. As he looked at her, daring her to disagree with him. She glared at him, but she crossed her arms and looked away. As Naruto saw an opening, as he ducked inside, making sure that it weren't being followed anymore. As he gently placed her back down where she clutched the wound on her side. If she didn't get out of here soon, it was only gonna get worse. Why? She asked. I still don't understand why you're doing this, she said. I already told you, said Naruto. I'm not gonna let anyone, Yukimaru included, go through what I had to go through. No one deserved that. Guren looked down towards the ground as she clutched on her wound tighter. I would not let anything happen to him, she said. It's not something you can have control over. He will still be hated, loathed, fear, whether you want to stop people or not. It will be up to other people to befriend him, to look past him being a Jinchuriki. You can't make them like him. As Naruto looked at the irony, at the moment they were both stuck in a demon, and yet he was talking about a Jinchuriki, and about people hating him for what he was back in the past. One person will never be enough. You may think so that you could be there for him at every time, but what about when you're gone? What about when there's no one left for him and he's all alone? We're shinobis, our lifespan isn't that great. Sooner or later, you will die, and you'll be alone again. Right, for Orochimaru to manipulate him into being a weapon. Guren clutched her hand tighter as she caused herself more pain than relief. You don't understand, I have to help him, she said. I took away the one place he would have belonged. I took away the one place where he could have had the life that you described earlier. I want to give it back to him. I need to help him, she said. As a few tears started straight down her face as she remembered her pain. The past that will always haunt her for what she did. Great, said Naruto. What? She said, looking up at him. As he was looking up at the ceiling. I said, great, do that then. Help him. Just don't let Orochimaru get his claws into him like he did to you. Run away, hide. Find a place where he can live a normal life, as long as he's okay. But first, that means I have to get you the hell out of here, said Naruto, as he raised his hand and offered to her. She took his hand shakily, as he moved her back to the alcove. Before he made a single seal, and there was 100 clones that poof into existence. Guren was surprised, as all of them held out their hand and clutched their wrists. As a Rasengan formed, they all moved towards one of the walls. The many Rasengans smashed into the rock wall as they pushed and pushed as it started to crumble, as it broke away. They did not stop as they broke through another wall, as they kept it up, breaking through. As the mini Isobue caught sight of them, as Naruto continued his cycle though, smashing through wall after wall. When a clone ran out of energy, he created two more. When the Rasengans ran out, they created bigger ones. Guren looked behind her as the original Naruto was holding on to her. As she looked at the path of destruction they caused, finally a clone broke through a wall as a trickle of water started to emerge. The other clones realized this as they slammed the Rasengan forward, using the remaining energy in their body to break through, boring a hole in the sandbar. Guren's eyes went wide. Wait, what are you? She couldn't get to finish a statement as water came rushing in. Both of them felt like their bodies were being pulled in every direction at once, before a sinking feeling overtook them, and they both passed out. Meanwhile, Teiwai looked over at the tied-up Stone Shinobi. At least, they had to take extra precautions with Gozo and Nori, given how their bodies were set. Luckily, thanks to constant advice from Naruto, who carried around a large amount of chakra suppressing rope in a scroll, as Gozo and Nero woke up, as they tried to use their chakra to get out of the bindings, but they could not. Gozo, with his monstrous strength, and Nori tried to split his body up into small quantities, but he could not shift out of it no matter what. The more they tried to free themselves, the more chakra the rope absorbed from them and got stronger. It could be overloaded, but they need a Kage level chakra or a Biju, and they didn't have that amount, nowhere near that. They refused to talk though, until Teiwai pulled out her kunai as she threatened to cut off a certain part of their body, and they were all up for talking after that. They didn't have much to offer though. All their orders came from Guren, who got their orders from Orochimaru. All they knew was a few bases they were allowed to enter, and Orochimaru didn't visit those often, like every 5 years or so. Teiwaya says she walked away from the prisoners. All the information was with Guren, who was currently in the stomach of the sandbar with Naruto. She looked towards the ocean, just hoping for a sign that her boyfriend was alright. She sighed as she walked back towards the small camp. Yukimaru was still unconscious from overuse and ability, and Fu was there looking over him. So, any change? You tell me, said Fu. You're the one that made the skills. As Teiwaya, hands started to glow green as she waved it over Yukimaru. He's just exhausted. He'll probably wake up. His eyes snapped open as he got up. A few seconds, said Teiwaya. She cursed her scan. Gave her about a couple of hours or so for him to wake up. She wondered if her skills were getting rusty. Well, she never really had a real teacher as a made it in. It was just mostly from experiments on herself. Really, she could only heal herself. It was much easier than trying to force her chakra into someone else's body. As Yukimaru looked around at the two girls, not fully understanding what was going on, his eyes widened as it hit him, as he remembered everything, as his hand shot right into his tunic as he started to search. He relaxed as he brought out the crystal. Fu looked at him strangely, wondering why he was so focused on the flower. It's okay. Guren's okay, he said. What? How do you know she's okay? If she was dead, the crystal would have shattered. But she's okay. He frowned, as he noticed, but it has a chip on it. Teiwaya figured that probably meant the woman was injured or something, but she didn't really care. She wanted to know if Naruto was okay. Hey, what's going on? Where are the others? Over there. We had to tie them up just in case they ran, said Teiwaya. He looked at her fearfully, wondering if he was going to be tied up as well, but he felt a hand on his shoulder as he turned. Fu was incredibly close to him, but she was smiling as he looked down the blush on his face. It's okay, Yukimaru. When Naruto get back, we can take you somewhere safe. As he looked back up at her. But what about Guren? I don't want to go anywhere without her. Fu frowned at that, as she didn't know if the woman was supposed to be trusted. She feared the answer. It would have to be up to her brother when he got back. Come on, big brother. Where are you? Time skip. As Naruto woke up, he was in some rocky area. What the hell? How did I get here from the sandbar stomach? As he looked around, he spotted Guren lying limp over by some rocks. As he went over and checked her pulse, she was fine. As he shook her shoulder, she slowly opened her eyes as she winced at the pain in her side as she saw Naruto standing over her. Naruto. As she jumped upright, nearly knocked him over. Yukimaru. Where's Yukimaru? She said. My friends should have him. She looked towards him with anger. Don't worry, said Naruto. They wouldn't have hurt him. Remember, Fu is there. Guren just relaxed as she felt her side acted up again. Are you okay to walk? She nodded as she tried to pick herself up, but she fell. Damn it, she cursed, but he was caught right in his arms as he set her bridal style. It brought a small blush on her face, but Naruto's eyes were closed as he focused on pinpointing Fu and Teiwaya's signature as he quickly made their way. As he arrived towards where a small camp was and a campfire, they broke through the tree line and landed as everyone turned towards them. As the others quickly rushed over, as they quickly made sure they were okay, as Yukimaru had a big smile on his face, as Teiwaya noticed as she looked towards Guren. Hey, what is she doing with you? As far as Teiwaya was concerned, Guren was as much to blame as the other sound ninjas. It's alright, Teiwaya. We came to our arrangement. She and Yukimaru are going to travel with us for a while, until we can find them somewhere safe to live. Teiwaya did not seem happy with this new arrangement at all, as she gritted her teeth and crossed her arms. But she knew Naruto was stubborn when it came to things like this. But if he could trust him, well, she would not just trust him right away. She would keep an eye on this woman, as she didn't trust her. Big brother, said Fu. What was it like inside the sandbar? Surprisingly spacious, said Naruto. Time skip. So, what do we do with these guys? Asked Gozu and Yori. We're still dazed from what Fu and Naruto did to them. But Kiji, Kyori, and Renji were looking at him fearfully. I don't know, but we can't just let them go. They would just run back to Orochimaru and tell him what we done here. The captives shook their head no, unable to speak because their mouth was gagged. You're right, but we can't take them with us. They will only weigh us down or try to escape. As Guren was focused on Gozu, as she walked over, she kneeled down in front of the hulking man. Gozu, you once told me you walked to the end of the earth for me. Is that still true? The man nodded, honestly. Guren stood back up with a small smile. She looked towards Naruto. This will work. Gozu is loyal to me, not Orochimaru. He can carry them until we can get them locked away somewhere. Teiwaya narrowed her eyes at the scene as she did not like this one bit. This woman, almost an hour ago, was trying to kill Naruto, so she did not trust her one bit, as Naruto looked between her and Gozu, eyeing them for any sort of deceit or treachery, before he nodded tiredly. Fine, it's probably our best choice anyway. It's not like we're cold-hearted enough to just leave them here. Well, said Teiwaya. No, said Naruto. Jeez, I was just joking, she said. I swear you get eaten by the sandby. I know you have no sense of humor. Naruto smiled a little at the over-the-top annoyance, before he walked over and wrapped his arm around her waist. She tried to fight against it first, before a smile came on her face as she melted in his arms, as Fu and Guren coughed at the same moment, snapping them out of the little whirl. Well, yes, I think we should get going. The base you want is in a land of hot water, so I think we should get moving, so we can take the port and get a boat there after we drop these guys off in Kiri. Don't worry about that, I have it covered, said Naruto. As Fu perked up at that. What happened to the sandby? Are we just gonna leave it? Nah, the Kyuubi said after me and Guren burst out of his gut, it's probably gonna go and recuperate. And Orochimaru doesn't have anything to seal it within, seeing that we now have Yukimaru with us, said Naruto. As Fu just nodded, she was still a bit worried about leaving the angry turtle behind. What if it went on a rampage? As they undid Gozu, who picked up the rest of the members, time skip as two figures made their way. As the both of them were wearing black cloaks with red clothes on them. One of them had a spiral orange mask to not give away his identity, but the other one looked like a phoenix fly trap. Not to mention he had two different faces. Half, one white and one black. Come on, Mr. Zetsu. We're almost there, the orange mask guy said, in a rather childish tone. Now remind me again, what tail beast are we after? Zetsu sighed to himself. The sandby. Tobi nodded, as he counted his fingers. Ichibai? Nibi? And I'm Tobi, he said as he giggled. He giggled to himself like a madman as they continued their way down the path. My Mr. Zetsu, you're being awfully quiet today. As Zetsu simply ignored him. Did Tobi upset Mr. Zetsu? Oh look, that place sells dango. Tobi can make up to Zetsu. There was a small restaurant at the top of the hill with a sign advertising their dango. Zetsu shook his head as a negative. It's not like he enjoyed the taste of normal food in a way. It lacked too much raw meat. As Tobi started to cry underneath his mask. Why, Mr. Zetsu? You're so mean to Tobi. Tobi is trying to be a good boy. Zetsu continued to grumble as a few people turned their head towards the two odd figures passing by. Tobi was looking forward to have dango's Mr. Zetsu, but Tobi did not, he says, he swung his arm like a petulant child. Zetsu was starting to lose his composure. The idiot persona of his partner was just too much sometimes. Obito, must you really play this fool of an idiot while we're alone? It drives me insane sometimes. Tobi isn't a fool, Tobi's a good boy. As he continued on Zetsu's side, the white half finally spoke up. Oh, leave him alone. Tobi's a good boy, the white half said, as Tobi continued to skip down the path, acting like a petulant child. As both Zetsu simply sighed. Capturing the sandby without a Jinchuriki wasn't really going to be a easy feat. The organization was low on members right now. Kisame was still tracking down the Nadabi after dropped off the map, along with his partner, and Deidara has not been seen ever since. Him and Sasha went towards the hidden sand to get the Ichibai. Time skip. You gotta be kidding, right? There is no way we can water walk that far. We're all gonna run out of chakra and die, she said. As Gordon is looking at the long stretch of water that seemed to never have an ending. It must be 30 miles over. Yet Naruto expect them to just walk across. Who the hell did he think she was? Some kind of Jinchuriki as well, or a Kage? No, you go as far as you can and then some clones. Of mine is not gonna carry you, Teiwaya, and Yukimaru. Fu can fly, so... His gaze paused on Gozu. The man was rather large. Even if he did have the stamina, could he really carry someone like that all the way over? As Guren chuckled at that, seeing the look on Naruto's face. Oh, don't worry about Gozu, out of all of us. I expect him to make it. I've never actually seen him get tired before. Gozu nodded towards Guren. Well, come on then, we might as well get going. As Fu unfurled their wings, surprising Guren and Yukimaru as he saw the beautiful wings flutter. After about an hour of running, Guren started to slow down, as well as Teiwaya. As Naruto swung Teiwaya onto his back and created a clone for Guren and Yukimaru. Guren didn't look like she was light being carried, but that was better than drowning out here. Guren was shocked, even Fu had to come down every once in a while to rest on one of Naruto's clone back. But yet, Naruto had stamina to run like this and carry them along with the clones. Yukimura on the other hand was staring at Fu as their beautiful wings that seemed transparent didn't even have to flap most times as he sailed through the sky, looking like a wonderful dragonfly, as her sight intrigued him quite a lot. As Fu felt like she was being watched as she turned, but nothing was there looking at her. She then turned fast as she saw Yukimura turn the moment she did. Its cheeks were a bit red, but she thought nothing of it as she dived and twisted through the air. But perhaps she should ask her older brother later. The only other boys that she met was Naruto and B-Sensei, and some of the other boys in the Hidden Star Village, but they were too serious for her taste. And also Kojiro. Kojiro was just like Yukimaru, he was also shy. Except for the battlefield when he was fighting, it was breathtaking. Boys were just so different. You had Naruto and B, who was confident, and also kind and humble. You had Kojiro and Yukimaru who were sweet and kind, but they were also nervous and always jumpy every now and then. Hey, I think I see land, Fu shouted. As Naruto and the clones poured on, Guren was just amazed as he seemed to increase his speed even more. If they were going in the right place, they should head up at the southern coast of the land of hot water. He had tried to maintain a straight track, but the water get loopy every now and then. As, after another 30 minutes of running, they made their way towards land. Yes, it was really far. As they arrived, finally, said Tewa as she dropped to the ground, rolling on the ground, happy to be on land once again. She was really getting sick of the water. They had been running for hours upon hours. Well, most of that were her and Naruto back. As Naruto stepped forward and collapsed, face first. Wow, he does have a limit, said Guren. But still, to be able to carry us all for hours, and also run himself, he's truly remarkable. Hey, don't get any bright ideas, said Tewa as she picked up Naruto. He's mine, I found him first. Guren seemed to raise a hand and wave her off. Guren waved it off, but a part of her was actually saddened that he was actually taken. He was truly remarkable. Time skip. Mr. Zetsu, Tobi yelled, as Zetsu tried to ignore Tobi, who was being tossed around by the active standby. He didn't understand why the man wouldn't just use the abilities and end this already, instead of acting like a damn fool. As Zetsu finally lost his patience, as he slammed his hand into the ground, as a massive surge of roots erupted from the ground. With more chakra, he formed a net that caught Tobi and the sandby inside. A few minutes later, Zetsu had subdued the sandby. The wood style drained away the massive quantity of the demonic chakra as soaked Tobi climbed out of the water. As he landed on the creature's belly, looked up in the sky. Did you see that, Mr. Zetsu? My jutsu totally got him. As Zetsu simply turned and started to walk away. Mr. Zetsu! Mr. Zetsu, Tobi yelled. What about the standby? We still have to get back to the base, as he waved his arm frantically. Zetsu did not turn back as he just kept on walking to the forest. The standby roared, but Tobi looked down towards it as he patted. Good standby, he said. Mr. Zetsu, he screamed. Time skip. Fu smashed. She looked down to her brother as he was sleeping peacefully. It seems even he has a limit, as Tei was using him as a pillow as usual, with a smile on her face. Fu walked over as she saw Yukimaru still, looking at that crystal with a warm smile, as she made her way over. Hi. He looked up, oh, hi, as he was not noticing her at first. So, what's up with you and that crystal? I know that Guren gave it to you, but there must be a story behind it, she said. I like chameleons, red or white. Instead of petal, the entire flower dropped from the tree. And you can ink it yourself. Fu didn't know what he was talking about as she didn't know that much about plants. But Yukimaru's eyes crinkled up into a smile. I want to show you something if that's okay, he said, looking around. She nodded as the both of them made their way off, as Yukimaru found a leaf as he picked it up, out in the distance, as he smiled towards it before turning back. My mother, she showed me this before she... His look turned sad for a moment. He perked back up the next moment as he brought Fu over to the nearby tree. Fu watched in amazement as he whistled through the leaf like it was a flute. The music he made was beautiful, sad, heart-wrenching, but also beautiful. All the pain losing his mother, being all alone before Guren came, the sadness was poured out into his song. When he was finished, he turned, as Fu had a single tear run down her cheek. Fu, are you okay? He asked. But she moved forward and hugged him, as Yukimaru was taken aback at first as he felt the warm embrace. It brought a smile to his face as she separated. That was beautiful. Where did you learn it? She asked, as she wiped her tears. Oh, I didn't. I just sort of picked it up, he said. Fu was surprised. That wasn't rehearsed? He looked down, a blush on his face. Fu, can I ask you something? As she nodded, not sure why she felt her heart rush at that moment. Can I see your wings? Yeah, I guess, she said. Her wings still ache a bit from the flying that she had to do across the sea. Even the small rest on Naruto's back didn't do too much when she had to fly for that long. Yukimaru looked at him with wonder. She felt a bit self-conscious, as he was just staring at them. They're amazing, he said. As that made her blush. Thank you. It must be amazing to fly free like a bird, floating in the air, the gentle breeze. As Fu didn't know why, but she couldn't tear her gaze away from him. His warm eyes and the way he described things. She found herself drifting towards him. As Yukimaru turned fully towards her, as he noticed as well. As he stood there, as she came closer. Hey, did I hear someone playing a flute over here? A voice said. Stopping Fu. In, her leaning forward, as she nearly tripped over herself. As she put distance between her and Yukimaru. Teiwaya saw the way the both of them were looking away. Blush on their faces as they didn't look at each other or her. Seems like something really interesting was on the ground. As a smirk came on her face. Oh? Did I interrupt you two in something? She said, looking around, with a rather gleeful look in her eye. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's not like that, Fu said. Mind your business, as her wings extended forward, as she flapped them and left the air. Teiwaya blinked at the rush reaction from the girl, before looking over at Yukimaru. Don't worry, kid. She'll come around. He blinked a few times before he looked down. He actually looked quite adorable. Teiwaya pat him on the back with a smirk. Don't worry about it. Now, I'm sure I hear someone playing a flute around here. Or am I just going crazy? Yukimaru smiled. He went back over to the leaf as he picked it up. As he blew on it. As Teiwaya heard the melody start to play. Rising musician, huh? No wonder why Fu like you. And I think you and I will get along quite well, she said. Time skip as the group was making their way in the valley wasteland. Teiwaya had an amused look on her face as she glanced between Fu and Yukimaru, who were trying their best to stay away from each other, something Naruto noticed quite quickly. And Naruto noticed that Yukimaru would now carry one of Teiwaya's flute. As Naruto was happy that she was opening up to the boy, he was also happy that she had a fellow musician to talk to now. Once, she tried to make him take up a instrument, but his focus just wasn't into it. Guren raised her hand as they came upon 3 large boulders, as she focused on them. She then turned back to the group. We're here, she said. This is Orochimaru's base. Alright, Gozu, you stay out here with Yukimaru and look after him. As Naruto turned towards Fu. You as well, Fu. The girl turned to him questioningly and a bit hurt, thinking that he doubted her abilities. He shook his head as he hugged her. This is like before, Fu. Orochimaru might be in there. And if anything happened to you, I couldn't live with myself. She gave him a shy nod. As with that, both him, Teiwaya, and Guren made their way. Guren flashed through a set of hand signs as she slammed her hand on the ground in front of the rock platform. The largest boulder shrank down and split open as it showed a large, winding staircase going down. As Naruto gave Fu one last smile before he descended down the boulders, coming back up to hide them. As soon as they entered, Naruto felt his head woozy, a feeling of dread and sickness at the same time, as a hand landed on his shoulder. As Teiwaya forced her chakra inside of him, strong genjutsu, meant to make you feel insecure and frightened, probably compensating for lack of guards or something, she said. Guren led them deeper and deeper, as every single door was the same, the hallways were the same. How could someone live in a place like this and not go mad? Guren seemed to know where she was going. If it was just Naruto and Teiwaya, they would have gotten lost a long time ago. Sasuke should be in the rooms at the center of the complex. I have no idea where, but at least it narrows it down. As Naruto nodded, as he spread his senses all around, the place was quiet, incredibly so. Where are all the guards? As Guren looked around, shushing Teiwaya. But Naruto agreed. Shouldn't there be stone shinobis patrolling or something, he whispered. No, apparently Orochimaru wants to keep his precious Uchiha away from the other sound ninjas. This entire complex is his to train in. There was a hint of spite in Guren's voice. She wasn't that fond of the Uchiha after all. They continued to rush to the complex, their feet making no sound on the wood panel floor. Teiwaya knew how to be silent, and Naruto had a seal on his sandals. That was on his technique, so he could move as fast as possible without being heard. And Guren had placed smooth crystals on the bottom of her sandals, Guren raised a hand as they all came to a stop in a identical corridor. Nothing, showing that he was different from the others. Alright, we're in inner compound. Wait, how can you tell? It all looks the same, said Teoya. Guren pointed to one of the candles on the wall, as Naruto noticed the metal was different here. I think we should split up. I'm not familiar enough with this part of the complex to locate the Uchiha, and I guess that neither of you are experts entering in. The both of them shook their head. Alright then, said Guren as she was ready to move, but her hand was grabbed by Teoya. I have a better idea. Teoya separated herself as she bit her finger, going through hand sign. Summoning jutsu, she said. There was a poof, as she was surrounded by a flock of falcons. All of them looking confused why their summoner brought them to this dank hallway. Alright guys, I need to spread out and find Sasuke Uchiha. Dark hair, look like an emo, with a duck butt on his head. You can't miss him. When you find him, come back here and tell me. The falcons looked unsure amongst themselves, but they flew off down the corridor. You know I could have just done that with Shadow Clone, said Naruto. Teoya shrugged as she leaned up against a wall. Well, you should have done that before I summoned them. As Naruto leaned up against the wall as well, as he slid down along with Teoya, who leaned her head on his shoulder. As they waited, Guren stood there a bit uncomfortably, as she didn't know how to react in this situation. As Teoya was leaning her head on Naruto with a peaceful smile, Teoya noticed her discomfort. Is someone feeling left out, she asked. Guren scowled at her as she turned to keep watch at the corridor. Naruto's ears twitched as he heard electricity, as one of Teoya's falcons got zapped the moment he came around the corner. As both of them quickly got to their feet, stepping around the corner was the one and only Sasuke Uchiha. His hair has gotten taller, his face more angular. He also changed his clothing, but whether or not it was for the better, that was rather questionable. A light grey shirt with open top and a purple belt like a rope. Are you the ones that sent those falcons to find me? As Naruto tilted his head. Hey, duck butt, remember me? Teoya asked. No, said Sasuke, as Teoya seemed a bit offended as he turned his attention to the other two. You, he said looking at Guren. You're one of Orochimaru's lackeys. What are you doing with these intruders? Guren did not reply. Instead, she crossed her arms as a thin layer of crystal came over her body, not that anyone could see. Sasuke narrowed his eyes in anger as he hated being ignored, before he looked towards the last one. You. As his Sharingan spun into view. You're one of the ones who helped capture me. Where's the one that manipulates sand? As Naruto wondered how cocky this guy was, thinking that he could meet demands. Sorry, Gar was too busy to come and kick your ass. I'm here instead though. Now can you do me a favor and knock yourself unconscious so I can get a look at that Hiki mark on your neck? That would be a big help. Fine, said Sasuke with a scowl. You'll be a good test for my skills. Are you sure you don't want to knock yourself unconscious? It will be a whole less painful. Sasuke snarled, his three-totem Sharingan swirling. For you maybe, Sasuke said. Well yeah, I guess that too, Naruto said, as Sasuke started to get annoyed. Big talk for a man who hide behind women. The smirk dropped from Teoya's face. She was about to step forward, but you know what? She stepped back, pulling Guren along with her. Kick his ass, she said, as Naruto looked at her questioningly. She wasn't entitled to step away from a fight, but he was going to question her now. Sorry, I was going to make this quick, but you insult Teoya, and she's not going to be happy until I at least break 5 of your bones. As he looked towards Teoya with that frown in her face. 6? As she smiled. 6 then. Enough of this, Sasuke said, as Sasuke vanished in a burst of speed, shocking Guren. Teoya wasn't shocked though, as she knew that Naruto had his handle. As Naruto's eyes saw this sprinkle of electricity form, he tilted his head as Sasuke fist past it, putting his feet out as Sasuke tripped right over it, flipping over. Sasuke growled. How the hell did you move that fast? He asked. My Sharingan couldn't even predict it. Well, there's a reason I'm called the most unpredictable ninja, said Naruto. And Sasuke charged forward once again, as Naruto countered the first, blocked the second as he ducked under a lightning infused kick. As Naruto brought his arm and leg up at the last possible moment, not giving Sasuke Sharingan time to read his movements. Sasuke got more and more angry as his punches and kicks were dodged, and Naruto seemed to be barely putting in effort. Finally, Naruto saw the perfect opportunity as Sasuke overextended his arm. As Naruto caught it, he spun using Sasuke's arm as lever as he slammed his elbow into Sasuke's ribs. There was a satisfying crack that came from Sasuke's torso as Naruto backed up. That's one, said Naruto. Sasuke gritted his teeth, fighting through the pain as he would not cry out, as he settled back into a fighting stance. Really? "You're gonna try that again," said Naruto. "I thought Uchihas were supposed to be intelligent." Sasuke said nothing. Instead, he spoke through his fist as he unleashed a high-speed series of attacks on Naruto that rippled into the air. But not even one, not even a single one touched Naruto as he twists, twirl, dive, drop, turn, lean. All of the fists passed him. He added insult to injury when he placed his hands behind his head and twisted his body, not even fighting back. As he was doing what Ujito taught him, be nimble and flexible like a cat. As Naruto lashed out once again out of surprise, but Sasuke smirked as he blocked his ribs. But Naruto's hand stopped inches away from punching his own hand. As Naruto brought his foot up and vanished, BAM! His feet slammed into Sasuke. As he appeared behind him, there was another cracking sound as Sasuke was slammed violently into the wall. "2," said Naruto. Sasuke ignored the injury as he rushed forward, burst out of the wall. As Naruto spun around Sasuke, so they were directly back to back, their backs even touching. Sasuke spun around, but Naruto ducked as Naruto delivered a brutal strike to his stomach, followed by a vicious kick, snapping something else. As another rib had been broken, as Sasuke dropped to the ground, clutching his stomach, clutching his body in absolute pain. "3," said Naruto. "You're fast," Sasuke says. He scraped his hand on the ground in rage. Sasuke flashed through hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. As Naruto flashed those seals so quickly, it was like his hand was nothing but blurs. Wind style grand. Great breakthrough. Normally, only an idiot would use wind against fire, seeing that the wind would only enhance the intense flames. Then again, when you have the affinity to wind, to exert pressure over fire, like Naruto, you could. As the gusts of winds overpower Sasuke's fireball and return it back to the crater, Sasuke's eyes widened as he quickly rushed back, diving through a corridor as a fireball, incinerating the area that he once stood, as the air was shrouded in a thick layer of dust and debris, leaving a massive gaping hole in the compound. As Sasuke emerged, wincing, as the intense heat had blistered his skin. As he looked forward, as Naruto wondered if he cracked any bones in that attack. He didn't want his count to be off. Seriously, I mean, what kind of asshole use a fireball in a small corridor like this? That is just asking for trouble, said Naruto. "Now how about you show me that mark? You're so interested in my curse mark? Fine, I'll show you as much as you want," Sasuke said. Naruto watched as a black marking spread along Sasuke's skin until his body was enveloped in it. The black markings grew as they turned red, spreading over his body as his skin turned grey, as his hair got a darker color. His eyes even turned black with a Sharingan in the middle, as 2 demonic hand wings came from his back, as he had purple tinted lips that looked like lipstick. "Oh, so that's what your curse mark does," said Naruto. "It turned you into a woman." Sasuke snarled as he used his wings to sweep everything away from him. "Make all the jokes. You die here now." "Hey," said Naruto as he looked back. He healed himself. "Do I have to start over?" As she nodded, as Naruto sighed. "You know, Uchiha, you're just making this harder." As Naruto blurred out of sight, it looked like he just disappeared. As Sasuke saw Naruto appear as he launched his hand that stabbed into the ground because Naruto phased right out of there. Sasuke then saw it at the corner of his eye as he turned. His Sharingan could see, but his body was too slow to block it, as the heel smashed into his face. A cracking sound could be heard as Sasuke burst through the hole, crashing. "Well, that's one again," said Naruto as he straightened himself up. Sasuke cursed in rage as he pulled out his blade. He wasted no time as he flapped his wings as he shot straight towards Naruto. As Naruto swept back and flipped and pulled out several kunai as he threw them around the field. Sasuke narrowed his eyes as he wondered what was the purpose of that. None of them didn't even come close to touching. As Naruto noticed the look on Sasuke's face, that made him smile. "I'm guessing Orochimaru never told you anything about my abilities then." Sasuke snarled but said nothing as he shot towards Naruto, his sword raised. The blonde just looked bored as Sasuke shot towards him and swung his blade. Before it could take off his head, Naruto was gone. No flicker, he was just gone. Sasuke brought his wing up to block a devastating kick as his shinobi instinct just kicking at that point. As he turned, Naruto was gone. He blocked another attack. He was kicked roughly in the back as he collapsed down to the ground. Looking around, he slashed with his wings, but there was nothing there. He was then uppercut, throwing him backwards. Sasuke flipped and landed. He snarled. "Shido recurrent," he said. Sasuke stabbed his blade in the ground as Naruto appeared. Naruto was shocked as electricity flew into his body. Sasuke smirked as he dashed forward and swung his blade to take Naruto's head right off. But Naruto vanished once again. As Sasuke turned and saw Naruto back over there. How did you do that? "You shouldn't be able to move right now," he said angrily. "Gotta have secrets, you know," said Naruto. As the Kyuubi started to remove the lightning chakra from his body, he stretched out his muscles as Sasuke appeared again. As Naruto vanished once again. Stop that, Sasuke said angrily. "Okay, if you insist," as Naruto grabbed his hand, as chakra started swirling to his palm before it enlarged, and enlarged, and enlarged, and enlarged until it was the size of his body. Sasuke looked at the Rasengan and it looked like a beach ball as it was swirling with uncontrolled energy. As Naruto turned and threw it, Sasuke dodged aside, but he didn't notice a thin blue thread that was connecting to Naruto's hand. As Naruto pulled the Rasengan back, Sasuke cried out in pain and agony as it shred into his wings. As Naruto brought the Rasengan back up and slammed it on Sasuke like a sledgehammer, there was a flash of light as the engine was released. As Guren and TY came out, as Naruto waved towards TY, who smiled and waved back. As Guren stood there, "I'm pretty sure that counted for 4. Sasuke burst right out of a cloud. As TY looked down as Sasuke flipped and grabbed her by the neck. As Sasuke pulled his blade as time slowed down. As Naruto sent lightning chakra and wind chakra through his body. As his body moved at speed that the normal body could not even react to. As he moved, reaching before Sasuke's sword could come down as he slammed, shoulder slam right into Sasuke, shattering the bones in that arm despite Sasuke being in his transform mode. He didn't even stop as he was pissed as he launched several blows in Sasuke's stomach, turning and launching a hammer kick right on his shoulder, making him knee before launching a severe blow to his chest. As Naruto did all of that in a second, Sasuke crumbled up as he dropped to the ground. His body was broken. Sasuke was unconscious, but Naruto was in an angry state right now. His eyes had turned red with slits. His canines had elongated. "Don't you ever try to hurt TY," he said, his voice dark. As he felt a hand placed on his shoulder, as TY calmed him down, Guren stood there completely shocked and amazed to what she just saw. She really underestimated him too much. And no, she underestimated him a lot. And now she realized he was correct when he said he wanted to go after Orochimaru, and that he handled S-rank criminals before because he could do it. He was no ordinary ninja at all. Time skip. TY and Guren sat outside nervously as Naruto had dragged Sasuke inside to do what he wanted to do with the curse mark. The cries of agony and pain could be heard come from the inside. They stopped as Naruto placed a private seal so they could not hear. As TY hand rubbed their curse mark, as Naruto didn't want anything to happen to her while he was tinkering with the mark, so he had to test first to see if his assumptions were right, and Sasuke was a perfect test dummy for that. Finally he emerged, wiping his arms of something that TY would have preferred not to know, even if the Uchiha deserved it. He looked up, surprised that they were still right here. As TY saw him looking rather calm despite everything. Well, it was Naruto. What did you do to him in there? Guren was also curious. It's best if you do not know, said Naruto. TY was still curious, but from the tone of Naruto's voice, it's best if she did not know. As Naruto closed the door behind him, not really caring what Sasuke did at this point. He understands enough about the curse mark now. You know, for a pedophile asshole, Orochimaru is a genius. That curse mark is rather complicated, said Naruto, and a genius piece of work. Well, he was using it in the wrong way, so guess I can't really say that, said Naruto. It's really complex. Basically, it has 4 main parts: enzymes, chakra, and a mental sway boost to enhance one anger and sadistic reactions and tendencies. And he trailed off. And what she said? Come on, what's the last part, she asked, as she saw his face became rather serious. The last part is a piece of Orochimaru's soul. 5 seconds went by and neither one of them said anything, as TY looked at Naruto to make sure that he wasn't messing with her. But he was serious. What? She said. Naruto cringed from the loudness in her voice as she started to claw at her neck. As he came over and took her hand. Tell you why, I promise I'll get that thing off of you. It's taking a bit longer than I thought, but I will get it off of you. And we'll make that bastard pay. She simply nuzzled up into his shirt as he held on to her, giving her comfort. As Guren walked back through the hole, looking outside. I promise, said Naruto, I'll get it off. As Teiwaya nodded. After all, she had full faith in him, and she believed him no matter what. If he said he was gonna do something, he was gonna do something. She trusts him that much. But guys, to be in episode right here, if you want to see the next parts, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But for now, see you guys soon. Peace.